7 surprising signs of sex addiction in women you need to know. Sexuality is a natural and integral part of the human experience. It connects us to ourselves and others in profound ways. However, like any other facet of life, when taken to extremes, it can become a source of distress rather than pleasure. One such extreme is sexual addiction, a condition that often goes unnoticed or misunderstood, particularly when it comes to women. This video dives into the signs of sexual addiction, aiming to educate and foster understanding about this sensitive topic. Before we proceed, it's essential to clarify. Sexual addiction, also referred to as hypersexuality or compulsive sexual behavior, is not about labeling someone for having a high libido or being sexually liberated. It's about recognizing when sexual behavior becomes compulsive, unmanageable, and destructive to a person's well-being. What is sexual addiction? Sexual addiction is a behavioral condition where an individual is unable to control their sexual urges, thoughts, or actions, even when these behaviors negatively affect their life. It's not simply about frequent sexual activity. It's about losing control, much like someone with a substance addiction might struggle to control their drug or alcohol use. For women, this topic can be even more nuanced due to societal stigmas and stereotypes about female sexuality. Here are 7 signs that may indicate a woman is struggling with sexual addiction, explored with sensitivity and insight. 1. A constant preoccupation with sex. Sex addicts often find themselves consumed by sexual thoughts. While it's normal to think about sex, an addict might find their thoughts overwhelming or intrusive, interfering with daily life. This preoccupation might lead her to neglect responsibilities, relationships, or even personal goals. For instance, she might spend excessive time fantasizing, seeking sexual partners online, or planning sexual encounters. This obsessive focus can become a coping mechanism, distracting her from emotional pain, stress, or unresolved trauma. If someone is using sexual thoughts or fantasies as a form of escape, it's worth exploring what lies beneath. This pattern often masks deeper emotional wounds. 2. Engaging in risky sexual behavior. One of the most alarming signs of sexual addiction is engaging in behaviors that put one's health, safety, or well-being at risk. For example, she might have unprotected sex with multiple partners, meet strangers for sexual encounters, or place herself in potentially dangerous situations to fulfill her urges. Risky behavior doesn't necessarily stem from a desire for danger. Rather, it can stem from an inability to control impulses. Over time, these actions may lead to feelings of shame, regret, or fear, creating a vicious cycle of compulsive behavior. Risky behavior isn't just about physical danger. It can also include emotional risks, such as repeatedly engaging in toxic or exploitative relationships for sexual gratification. 3. Using sex as an emotional escape. Sexual addiction often serves as a coping mechanism. Just as someone might turn to alcohol, food, or drugs to numb their emotions, a sex addict might use sexual activity to escape feelings of loneliness, anxiety, depression, or inadequacy. For instance, if she's feeling stressed or overwhelmed, she might immediately seek out sexual encounters as a way to self-soothe. However, this temporary relief is often followed by guilt, shame, or emptiness, perpetuating the cycle of addiction. It's essential to recognize that this behavior doesn't make someone bad or immoral. It's often a cry for help, a sign of emotional pain that hasn't been addressed. 4. Difficulty establishing emotional intimacy. Sexual addiction can make it challenging for someone to connect with others on an emotional level. While she might seek out sexual relationships frequently, these interactions may lack genuine intimacy. She might avoid deep emotional connections, fearing vulnerability or rejection. This pattern can manifest in serial relationships, a preference for casual encounters, or an inability to maintain long-term partnerships. Paradoxically, while sex may be frequent, it often lacks the emotional fulfillment that true intimacy provides. Emotional intimacy requires trust, openness, and self-awareness, qualities that can be difficult to cultivate when addiction takes center stage. 5. Losing control over sexual behavior. One hallmark of addiction is the loss of control, and sexual addiction is no exception. She might find herself engaging in sexual behaviors even when she doesn't want to or when she knows they'll lead to negative consequences. For example, she might promise herself to stop seeking out certain behaviors only to relapse repeatedly. This loss of control can lead to feelings of helplessness and self-loathing, further fueling the addictive cycle. Addiction thrives in secrecy and shame. Breaking the cycle often requires acknowledging the problem and seeking support. 6. Neglecting responsibilities or priorities. When sexual behavior becomes compulsive, it can start to take precedence over other important aspects of life. She might neglect work, family, friendships, or personal goals in favor of seeking sexual gratification. For instance, she might call in sick to work to meet someone, spend hours on adult websites instead of completing tasks, or prioritize sexual pursuits over her children or partner. Over time, this neglect can lead to significant life disruptions and strained relationships. It's important to approach this sign with compassion rather than judgment. Addiction often hijacks a person's priorities in ways they feel powerless to control. 7. Experiencing guilt, shame, or emotional distress. Many sex addicts struggle with intense feelings of guilt or shame after engaging in their compulsive behaviors. These emotions can stem from societal stigmas, personal values, or the recognition that their actions are causing harm to themselves or others. However, rather than breaking the cycle, this guilt often perpetuates it. Feeling unworthy or hopeless, she might return to the very behaviors that caused the guilt in the first place, seeking temporary relief. Addressing these feelings requires creating a safe space for open, non-judgmental conversations. Shame thrives in silence, but healing begins with understanding. Why it's important to address sexual addiction. Sexual addiction isn't just about sex. It's often a symptom of deeper emotional or psychological struggles. Left unaddressed, it can lead to broken relationships, financial problems, health risks, and a profound sense of isolation. For women, the additional burden of societal judgment can make seeking help even more daunting. By recognizing the signs of sexual addiction, we can move away from stigma and toward empathy. Understanding that addiction is a condition, not a moral failing, allows us to support those struggling with compassion and care. If you or someone you know exhibits signs of sexual addiction, it's important to remember that help is available. Therapy, support groups, and open conversations with trusted friends or family members can be invaluable. Recovery is not about suppressing sexuality. It's about reclaiming control and rediscovering a healthy, balanced relationship with oneself and others. Healing often involves addressing underlying emotional wounds, building self-awareness, and fostering genuine connections. Closing thought. Sexual addiction is a challenging but not insurmountable struggle. With the right support, understanding, and resources, those affected can move toward a healthier, more fulfilling life. This video isn't just about identifying signs, it's about fostering understanding and breaking the stigma around a complex issue. If this resonates with you or someone you know, consider it a reminder that it's never too late to seek help and start the journey to healing. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into navigating the complex world of relationships. Let's keep learning, growing, and building connections that stand the test of time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.